Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace.
You know, the hardest thing about being a landscape photographer is, and I'm sure that 99.9% of you can relate to this, and it's those moments in between those big trips or those camping weekends away with the camera, because most of us have family lives. Most of us, no offense, live in pretty mundane areas, nice areas, but we're not exactly surrounded by the Rocky Mountains. So what do we do during those moments in between? Well, the answer is fairly obvious, isn't it? We get ourselves a monopod. Now that is terrible advice. Do not go and buy a monopod based on this video. However, in last week's video, I was doing ICM and multiple exposure photography handheld, and I found it a bit too random, a bit too potluck. So I thought I would try it with a monopod and see if that can, oh, I'm blooming heck. Oh. See if that can make a difference, because I can still add movement, but I've got much more flexibility, much more control, and I can create a much more stable image. It all sounds a bit of an oxymoron, doesn't it? ICM, movement, and then stable image, but hopefully you'll see what I'm on about. Now, a few miles from where I live is a lighthouse. It's quite sad, actually. I kind of stopped photographing that lighthouse. I have a handful of images with which I'm really happy, but very quickly it just becomes too familiar, oh god, the lighthouse again, oh god. So, I'm going to take the practice of ICM and I'm going to go and apply that to my lighthouse and see if I can add a new image to my current collection of lighthouse images. Oh, conditions are not good. It's freezing cold and we have the blue sky days. I was hoping for a bit better light, some clouds in the sky, more contrast, more textures to play with. But I suppose for me, definitely, this is I'm just practicing, you know, learning a new technique, and see if this monopod's going to help me out. Might have to go black and white though. We'll see what happens, because I've come out towards the end of the day, so we might get that beautiful pastel blue and purple of Earth's shadow and belt of Venus. That could actually look quite dreamy. I thought that multiple exposure creative photography, like what we're doing here today, was the magic bullet, the answer to all those drab, dreary photography days, which today is definitely one of them. It couldn't be more bland. But we'll give it a go anyway. I'll have a play and yeah, see if we can create something from nothing. Who knows though, when the sun goes down, things might improve dramatically, but right now, it's not the best. So I actually have this monopod for filming in my van. Because it's got such a small footprint, I can move it anywhere in my van, and it just makes filming in a tight space really easy. But we'll see how we get on with the old ICM. I've got such a bad feeling about this. So that's 10 images, and I used the monopod just to give myself the tiniest bit of movement, yet trying to, at the same time, align everything perfectly so that it's not too dramatic. And the image is okay, it's not bad, but it's nice, but I feel like it could be better, and I wanted to experiment a bit more, because whilst I was shooting that and setting up to shoot that, I noticed all of this grass around me, and I thought, wouldn't this grass be nice in the foreground? But then I wouldn't want it, I don't necessarily want it to be reflected as a grass, more just the texture, and see if I can work that into the water. So what I'm actually going to do is shoot 10 frames, multiple exposure, but a couple of those frames I'm actually just going to shoot the grass and see how that works. I'm just getting crazy, what can I say? We're having a wild time by the coast. I've shot a couple of frames of the grass with a bit of movement, which is hopefully going to give me a nice swooshy bit of texture. See, with every frame I take, the grass becomes softer and softer as the other 8 images begin to overpower it. Yeah, I don't know, the first image without the grass, just basically the straight multiple exposure shot of the lighthouse, looks okay. It's kind of as I would expect, a bit of a moody painting feel. I went for a black and white conversion. And I've been experimenting with putting a couple of frames of just the grass on top of the images of the lighthouse, and I don't know, it's hard to judge on the back of the camera, but to me, it actually looks like, have you ever taken a long exposure of seabirds and you get these streaks across the screen, so it kind of looks like the seabirds, which is actually great, because the whole point of this photography is it's abstract and it's more emotive, so you're capturing the emotion of the scene rather than the scene itself. It's, you know, the classic one being it's impressionistic, it's an impression of what you're seeing and not actually what you're seeing. So yeah, I don't know, I'm probably not going to stick with it. I'll move down to the coast now that the tide's going out, and we'll shoot some more scenes, and we'll see what happens if we get some waves in and what happens with the light. I just find myself that, like, I'm shooting and about like 20 minutes passes in the blink of an eye because I'm just engrossed in it. It is a lot of fun. Also, a lot of hit and miss. Decided to ditch the monopod. It's not. I think for this I much prefer the freedom of being handheld. A nice idea with the monopod, but I think I'll stick to using this for filming in my van. So I've actually been struggling quite a lot. I got a bit disheartened because I just wasn't creating anything. I couldn't quite figure out how best to make it work. And then it suddenly dawned on me. It was so obvious. And that is composition. First composition, then everything else. So I'm working on a frame here and I think it's going to work beautifully. I'm using these rocks that kind of sweep round towards the lighthouse. We have crashing waves. Because each frame is 1.3 seconds, I really don't need to introduce much movement at all. I'm just stripping all of the detail away from the image. Yes, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I feel a lot better about this now compared to what I was shooting earlier on. All a learning curve. So I'm really pleased with that image. It's definitely painterly, but I'm not exactly sure I would describe it as abstract. So I don't actually think it fits the brief of what I've come here to achieve today. So for my last image, I think I might just, I don't know, well, I don't know what I do. How close to the edge can we take it? At what point is it no longer recognizable as a lighthouse? And that's what we'll go for, and see if we can capture some of this beautiful color. Because I tell you what, it is, I mean, we're going to be overexposed here, aren't we? Yeah, no, that's not going to, never mind. I'll cut in some B-roll to show you the colour.
I think the biggest problem for me is not knowing what I want to achieve with this crazy expressionist photography. Yes, it's great fun and can turn the most mundane of places into works of art, but everything just feels like chance and luck, whereas with my normal landscape photography, I am far more intentional with my work. Take this final image that I'm shooting now, for example. I was throwing the camera all over the place, shooting down at the waves, out to the open ocean, over to the lighthouse and up at the sky. I didn't know what I was doing, but it worked. Well, it kind of worked, because in order to create my final masterpiece, I had to use one extra frame, which I photographed about an hour earlier. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see the final image. I suppose my point is that although I like some of the images that I'm making, I don't feel as if they're fully mine. Not yet, anyway.
Now, before I go ahead and show you that final image, I just want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. If you don't know who Squarespace are, well, they are an all-in-one website building platform. So if you're a photographer and you want your own website with your own domain, nice online gallery, or an online store and it all looks so professional, but you don't know anything about web coding or web design, well, you can do it all through Squarespace. It's a nice, intuitive drag and drop system that anybody can learn, and you can knock out a website quite literally within a day or two. So if you fancy giving that a go and getting yourself a website, go to squarespace.com/Heaton and you'll get a free trial. And then if you enjoy that free trial and it's all working out nicely for you, go ahead and use the offer code Heaton for 10% off your first purchase. Right, well, sadly for me, it's a no for the monopod. It didn't quite work and give me that structure I was looking for. And I just think that I have so much to learn. Anyway, I'm going to throw that image up on screen now to end the video. The final one, the final abstract, but it's the beginning of a long journey.